Welcome to Insights from the Eye Center, connecting patients to eye care solutions. Now, here's your eye care team.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Insights from the Eye Center. I'm your co-host, Jeremy Wolf, joined today for this segment, we have Dr. Amanda Nanasy. Dr. Nanasy, always a pleasure to see you.
Yeah, you too. Thanks so much, Jeremy. We love the opportunity to talk with our patients, basically, through you about things that they would like to know about. So thank you.
Yes, of course. Excited to get into this. You know, the last time we did this, you were actually a guest on my show, The Good Neighbor Podcast, and you had a chance to talk all about the Eye Center and really about your journey. It was a really interesting conversation. But you mentioned something to me the other day we were speaking, and you told me about a new technology. It's called Neurolens. And my mind immediately went to, I was like, Neuralink, what are we linking now to our mind? So I thought this would be a great opportunity for you to share with our listeners a little bit about what Neurolens is and how it differs from your traditional lens.
Absolutely. So it's an interesting journey how I ended up working with Neurolens. As we spoke during my last time with you, I work with a lot of concussion patients. Right. And what would happen with the concussion patients is they have all of these new symptoms because they're not able to compensate for things that they could before they had a head injury. And one of the issues that they have has to do with eye alignment. You know, you have this eye that sees this picture and this eye that sees this picture, but they have to come together aimed perfectly to have one seamless picture. And most of us have a small amount or sometimes a larger amount of misalignment of the two eyes. And if they don't come together, you either have double or blurry vision, or if you haven't had a head injury, but you have this misalignment and you're doing a ton of near work where your eyes are constantly doing this all day, you can end up with fatigue and sometimes headaches. And what I found is that the headaches that were getting better on my concussion patients, we're also seeing patients that haven't had concussions, but have had chronic migraines and headaches that we've been able to resolve with these glasses.
So is this a treatment that would help somebody with, and forgive me for lack of a better term, but I've heard of lazy eye before, where somebody has kind of an eye that just, I guess, wanders off. Is this something that would help with that, or is that something different?
Something different. While we could use prism, so what's in these Neurolenses is something called prism, a special type of prism. What prism does is it takes an image and it just shifts it to where, talking about the eye misalignment. So let's say that my eyes would rather be comfortable here, but in order to see clearly and single, they have to do this all day, which is fatiguing.
Okay.
They move the image towards the eyes. So when somebody has an eye turn, or what some people will call a lazy eye, it would be possible to use prism to bring the image to that eye, but that's something that normally we would do vision therapy with those patients. Sometimes we can do a quick fix with glasses, but not as much with those patients.
So if I understand correctly, the prism within the lens acts to essentially train the eye or redirect the eye to the proper position through, I guess, whatever the prism is. It's fascinating stuff. So how did this stem, this Neurolens technology, did it stem from work on concussions, or how did it kind of come into being? Where did it come from?
That's a cool question. So we've had regular standard prism for hundreds of years. And when I say standard prism, it means that the prism is in the whole lens that directs the eye or directs the image towards one place, whether you're looking far away or up close. So this really smart optometrist, his name's Dr. Kroll, he actually helped design this contoured prism because most people's eyes are more misaligned up close than in the distance. So the problems started coming about where he had patients that were moving into more of a digital life and having these problems. And for me, with concussion patients for years, it was, we need two pairs of glasses. We need one for distance and one for up close. But this was a way to do one pair of glasses that gives that eye that support system to just have that more comfortable vision everywhere. And like I said, even though I've used Prism for concussion patients, it's really the things that it's doing for headache patients has been unlike anything I've been able to do. I think in the 13 years of practice, the impact that we make when a patient comes in for like a regular eye exam, just thinking that they're just going to leave with glasses that make them see more clearly. But when I can give them something to change their comfort and sometimes get rid of debilitating headaches, I've never had patients, tear up in the chair before prescribing these glasses, where they'll come back and just say, and I'm sorry, I'm just like rambling on, like I'm
No,
super
you're good.
excited. I had one patient a couple months ago that I saw her daughter, and her daughter had great outcomes. So then mom came in and was like, I want to see how I can do. And she came back for her follow-up and she said, I'm calling this, the summer that I learned to read again, because she said, I've never been able to just sit down and read a book and feel comfortable. And now I can. I have a testimonial that I got a couple weeks ago from someone that said, I've been using medication she said my whole life. She started it when she was in her teens. And she said, 25 years later, you just gave me a pair of glasses and I stopped taking my medication and
Wow.
I haven't had
That's amazing.
It's great. It's really great stuff.
So is this technology something that, obviously you mentioned it goes in the lens of a glasses, is this able to be put in the contact lens as well, or is it only for glasses? Or we're not there yet?
It's not. It's only for contacts, or it's only for
Only
glasses. But I have patients that wear contacts all the time, that I make the Neurolenses to go over their contacts. And you're like, well, why would I want to wear glasses and contacts? But it's situational. It's for my students that wear contacts all day, but then when they sit down to work on their iPad or their tablet or their computer, they put the glasses on to, again, just support their system. Or it's people that when they sit down to their desk to work, they wear the glasses and they just take them off when they're ready to leave their desk.
Interesting. So are there any specific, demographics or groups of people who might benefit most from this technology? Are there people that are not candidates for this? I'd imagine it's patient dependent, right? Somebody comes in there and you do your normal assessment and then you determine whether or not this would work for them.
Right. It's very much tailored specifically to the patient. And when I say tailored specifically, the level of measurements are so precise because we have a special device that actually goes on the patient like a VR headset that measures not even to the diopter. We used to say like 1, 2, 3 diopters of prism. It goes 1.15 diopters of prism.
What's a diopter?
That's the amount. I should have brought my prism bar in to show and tell. It's just the amount. When I describe it to my patients, I say it's like pounds. Think of it like you have to lift one prism diopter, 1 pound, in order to, keep single clear vision, which isn't hard. But if you're doing it all day, it can become fatiguing. So,
Sure.
But it's the measurement. Kind of like when we do glasses, people wear 1.0 diopter sphere. This is just prism diopters instead.
So how do I'd imagine that you're picking up on this condition that is corrected by Neurolens through a routine eye exam. Like, do you have people that are struggling so bad from the condition that they come see you specifically for that? Or is it something that through a routine exam, you're able to say, hey, look, this might be of assistance to you? How does that work?
Both. Yeah, the answer is both. So the first step is when we do our intake forms, when someone comes in for an exam, there are questionnaires. And there are several questions that are in the intake form that would clue us to if they might be a good candidate. One, do you have headaches? And everything's, scaled like 0 to 5. Do you have headaches? Do you have neck or shoulder pain? And the reason for that is because the same nerve that's responsible for telling your eyes where to point, the trigeminal nerve, also bifurcates down the back of the neck and shoulders. So you'll hear people all the time say, like, oh, I'm on the computer all day and my neck hurts, my shoulders hurt. And they just think it's postural. And it could be if they're sitting like this, but it could also be because they're overstimulating this nerve. We also ask if people have dry eye sensation. It's absolutely possible to have dry eye. I know you spoke to several of our doctors specifically about dry eye, but sometimes patients don't have dry eye and their tear film looks fantastic, but they have this burning, uncomfortable eye sensation when they're on the screen. And it's because the trigeminal nerve also feeds in and gives us innervation to the cornea, the front of the eye. So we ask about fatigue. We ask about motion sickness. The reason why people might be more sensitive to motion in a car even is if their eyes tend to rest outward a little bit, they might be more sensitive to changes in the periphery versus central vision. So we have some specific questions that we're looking for. The big one though, headaches. If people are saying, gosh, I get headaches when I'm on the computer, that to me is just like, that's the bullseye.
So I wanted to ask about, so let's say somebody comes to your office and they're not complaining of headaches. They're not complaining of any of these other symptoms you just mentioned, but their vision is a little bit off. Are you able to determine through a routine eye exam where normally you would just prescribe regular glasses? Are you able to determine that the Neurolens would help in that situation, absent the actual headaches and the migraines and all that stuff?
We are. And there would be some circumstances where I might recommend them and some where I might not recommend them. I'll tell you that that we're firm believers here at the Eye Center of giving everyone the highest level of care possible. But if someone is not symptomatic, I'm not going to necessarily prescribe something special for them if I don't know that it's making an impact. I want people to say, wow, I got this thing that's so fantastic, and I either see more clear or more comfortable. But if I demonstrate it to them and they can't really tell a difference, I'm not going to prescribe it. But what's interesting is I'll have people fill out the survey and maybe not give the full truth answers. And it's not because they're not wanting to tell me. It's more like, yeah, I get headaches, but I've had them for 15 years and it's not related to my eyes. So they say no. But then when
so they think.
Yeah, so they think, right? But then when I do some testing, I say, wow, there's a pretty big misalignment here. Or if it's a student, I'll say, does your child lose their place a lot when they're reading? Do they have to reread? Do they love to read, or do they not really like to read? And if they say, well, yeah, we actually see a reading tutor or XYZ, then I say, I think this might help you. And it's a cool spot to be in for me with this specific piece of technology because they back it with 100% guarantee. So if I tell mom, I think that we should go this route of getting this special pair of glasses, and they may not be covered by your vision plan, so they might cost more than you were expecting to pay. But if they don't work, you'll get 100% of that money back. There's no risk there. It's more work for us, honestly, Jeremy, because if we have to return something, there are a lot of steps there and it takes staff time.
Sure.
But the number of times that happens is so few because, again, I don't prescribe it unless I really am excited about the potential outcome for the patient.
So, Dr. Nanasy, are you telling me that it's possible that my kids don't like to read because of the eyes, and it may just solve that issue with a little Neurolens for them?
It's possible.
Probably not likely with my kids.
I'm glad you said it though, because and not just Neurolens. I can't tell you the number of times that we've gotten kids in the chair for different reasons. Sometimes because they have a red eye, like the kid's got an eye infection, pink eye, so they're booted out of school for the day, so they had to come to the eye doctor. And I find out that they have a giant prescription and they're seeing like a fourth of what they should be able to see in the distance. And I'm like, do they squint a lot? And they're like, yeah, but Johnny, he doesn't like pay attention. It's really
no, I've heard about that. I've heard about that in the classroom, right? If a child is sitting in the back of the room, they're not doing well in school, and the teacher moves them up to the front of the room, and all of a sudden it's a total shift, right? Everything becomes clear. Yeah. I did want to ask you something totally off the cuff here, or maybe not, and you may or may not have an answer for it. I'm curious. Cool. You mentioned motion sickness earlier, and I'm wondering why it is that as we get older, we tend to get more, and I'm speaking for myself. I used to go on all these rides, roller coasters, things like that. And my father always used to tell me he would never go on a ride that repeats itself. if it creates the same motion again, if it goes around in a circle, he just doesn't go on. And I never understood it. And now I'm at a place where I get very sick on any ride, like the pirate ship at the carnival, the swings, the merry-go-round even. I get very sick from motion sickness. I'm wondering what it is about age that causes that. And is that related to the eyes?
That's a good question. And I don't have a solid answer, but I have some thoughts. So I'll tell you that just like the visual system changes over time, the integration with the ocular and the vestibular system, that helps us guide our balance, can definitely have some changes as we age. I can tell you visually, though, specifically that we have changes to our vision as we need more plus power up close to see more, right? Like when we start doing this thing and we need to get the glasses to see up close. When you get more plus power in your prescription, it tends to bring your alignment out more. So sometimes people have been fine the whole time until they need that slightly different power that affects their accommodative, their focusing, and then their alignment system that kind of can throw them off a little bit. I'm going to give you my favorite example about how eyes affect balance and are related. I don't know if I told you this one last time. If you've ever been on one of those, they'll have like Space Mountain at Disney World, you're going up this straight track, but they simulate spinning motion with screens around you. If you were on a tunnel, like a walkway that did that, you would walk around on it like you're all off balance, even though if you were to stand there still, or if that track were to stop and you close your eyes, your vestibular system and you're moving. Well, you wouldn't think you were spinning until your eyes take over. So there's a lot of integration there. That was a very long answer to your nice, simple
question. You're good. I think Space Mountain's an amazing roller coaster. If you look at it, it's obviously in the dark in that mountain. If you look at just the roller coaster itself, it looks like a little kiddie roller coaster, but when you go on it in the dark with all the optics, it's like crazy.
Yeah. It's almost sad. The first time I saw it with the lights on, I was like,
what is that?
I felt like I was much cooler going way faster.
Yeah. So I wanted to, before we wrap up here, I mentioned earlier, I asked you about the contact lens for Neurolens. What does the future hold for Neurolens? When can we expect a contact lens? When can we expect the Neurolens to link with Neuralink? What is on the horizon, Dr. Nanasy?
I don't know. I'll tell you that just the development of the testing equipment over the past years has been super cool, because it used to be like this big, giant, like box kind of shaped device that you stuck in your head into, and now it's a VR headset. So who knows? I think the future for what they have in store for us is limitless.
Yeah, interesting things on the horizon, as they say. Well, Dr. Nanasy, always a pleasure to see you. So
you as well, Jeremy. Thanks so much for your time, and you asked some really great questions. Thank you.
Yeah. So that's what we do. So to our listeners, thanks for tuning in, and we will catch everyone on the next episode of Insights from the Eye Center. Everyone take care.
Have a great day.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us on Insights from the Eye Center, your guide to clear vision and comprehensive care. For more information, visit eyecenter.com or call 954-432-7711.